For SBI, the biggest advantage has been the freedom to make the decisions that directly affect how we operate and how we serve our members. We can be more nimble, more intentional, and more responsive to what SBI needs. It's also allowed us to build and strengthen our own relationships with other societies through joint statements, guidelines, and publications.
Really similarly to SBI, SPR enjoys that autonomy. We now have complete control over our operations, our investments. I mean, even something as simple as selecting, I think as you alluded to earlier, Joanna, the database that we're going to be in. Something as simple as that, we're able to really focus solely on our members and our mission, and we don't have to balance like any competing organizational priorities of that larger organization when you're under their umbrella.
This is Associations Thrive, the podcast celebrating successful associations and their leaders. I'm your host, Joanna Pineda, CEO and Chief Troublemaker at Matrix Group International. Listen in as top association executives tell all, revealing the creative and innovative ways they're increasing membership, generating revenue, nurturing engagement, and reimagining their organizations. By the way, if you've launched a new initiative, created new member services, or updated your governance structure and are seeing great results, I want to hear your story, and so do my listeners. I'd love to have you as a guest. Go to podcast.matrixgroup.net and apply to be on Associations Thrive. Now let's dive into this week's show. Today, I'm speaking with Angela Davis, CEO of the Society for Pediatric Radiology, and Yasmeen Fields, CEO of the Society of Breast Imaging. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yasmeen, tell us about SBI.
Absolutely. The Society of Breast Imaging is the professional physician membership association for radiologists who specialize in diagnosing breast cancer. We have more than 4,200 members across academic, private practice, community, and military in the United States, as well as international members. And what brings us all together is our shared mission to minimize breast cancer mortality and suffering for patients, their families, and society.
So Yasmeen, when I get my regular mammogram, that is read potentially by one of your members.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Angela, tell us about SPR.
Yes. So I like to think that the SPR is more than a professional association. It's a community dedicated to improving the health of children through medical imaging. SPR has over 3,000 members representing physicians, trainees, and allied professionals throughout North America and beyond, who share a commitment to excellence in pediatric imaging. The society is really here to form that network, foster that network, and is educating the next generation of pediatric imaging specialists.
So Angela, why is there a group for pediatric radiologists? Are children substantially different in the imaging that gets done on children? Why the specialized organization and this specialized subspecialty?
I love that question because within our community, we like to say that children are not small adults. So while you can learn from adults and, diagnosis and scans and things of that nature, and they may help influence pediatric imaging, it really is a specialty where you have to have that extra set of knowledge to be able to care for the child. Again, children are not small adults.
Oh, interesting. Well, ladies, I met you at the Inter-Society Conference of the American College of Radiology. And this conference, which took place, I guess, last July, brings together the CEOs, executive directors of up to 60 of these radiology associations and board members. I think maybe it's a board member or a board chair. So educate my listeners a little bit. Radiology is a specialty, and then breast imaging or pediatric radiology is a subspecialty. So educate us on all of this.
Absolutely. So, as you're saying, radiology is the specialty, and then there's these subspecialties such as breast imaging or pediatric radiology, or even have abdominal imaging, right? So, those are the ones who are looking at that torso area. And even within these different subspecialties, you can have subspecialties.
Hmm.
For instance, we actually have pediatric neuroradiologists. So not only do they specialize in peds, they've even gone a step further. And now they're focusing on that area of the brain, right? Because they're the neuroradiologists. So there are definitely even subspecialties within the subspecialties of the specialty of radiology.
Oh, and maybe that explains why there's so many of these subspecialty associations.
Yes.
All right. Well, we had a lot to discuss today. I could ask you about your journeys. I could ask you about your organizations. But when I met you at the conference, something really interesting came up. And that was that some of these subspecialty associations used to be part of the American College of Radiology. And SBI and SPR in particular were two of these organizations run by ACR. They were acting as an association management company, and then you split off. So we're going to talk about that journey today. Take us back. Tell us about the time when you were all being managed by ACR, and what was that like?
So ACR was not a traditional association management company, but it was a well-established organization with the infrastructure and resources and expertise to support smaller specialty societies like SBI and SPR. For SBI, that relationship was incredibly important. It gave us a strong operational foundation and helped the organization grow and thrive for more than 30 years. So in many ways, that support is what positioned SBI to eventually be ready for independence when that time came.
So at that point, there were, I think, 7 or 8 or 10 of you that were being run by ACR. And at some point, a decision was made that these associations should spin off. So what happened there? What came to pass?
What happened was, as you mentioned, the American College of Radiology, a larger radiological organization that was managing or serving like an association management company for about 7 or 8 subspecialty organizations, they really came to a point where they decided that we need to focus 100% on our organization's mission, strategic plan, and members. And so, in order to best serve the members, we need to move away from that arm of being like an AMC, because again, that's not what ACR was built for, to be like an AMC. So they did it. And it was because of that decision that then the organizations, SPR, SBI, and the others had to take a step back and decide what's the path forward. I know some organizations partnered with other AMCs, some did different hybrid approaches, and like where we are today, SBI and SPR, we're now standalones. But it all really came from the ACR's decision to really focus on their organization and not try to have this separate arm of like an AMC.
Ah, so it was ACR that basically said, hey, we don't want to be in this business anymore. You all have to spin off. How was the decision made, and how much time did you have to do this transition?
For SBI, it really came down to the autonomy and readiness. They gave us 18 months to make that decision, and it was then a process of getting ourselves ready and taking those next steps in order to inform our boards of what was going to be the next best step for SBI.
I see. Okay, so it's day one. They've let you know that you're about to be independent. You were already the CEOs at that point. Was that your title? What was that like?
So under the ACR, because of how the structure was, and there was actually a department that was for association and meeting services. So under that umbrella, we had the title of executive director. And then once the organizations decided to branch out and eventually, as we are now, become standalone, the titles shifted to CEO. And that is really because our responsibilities shifted and were expanded. We were now part of the decisions and making a lot of operational decisions moving forward. We didn't have this umbrella over us where it's like, well, what do we do from an accounting standpoint, or what do we do from an HR standpoint, where you had those functional departments under the ACR. All of that now fell under our purview.
I see. Okay, so you tell your boards, hey, we got to be standalone. Do you then decide, are we going to be standalone, self-managed, or managed by an AMC? Is that part of the discussion?
So I would say it definitely was part of the discussion. And for SPR, the last time we had a contract renewal with the ACR, the due diligence was done to just look at different business models. So while it was certainly shocking news, we didn't feel like we were starting from ground zero because some of that had already been done a few years back in that due diligence check. So we did look at different business models, whether it was partnering with another larger radiology association, partnering with an AMC, going completely standalone. And we did take this tiered approach, if you will. And our step after ACR was to partner with an AMC. And one of the key reasons was the people. And that is because we wanted to make sure that the FTEs that were coming with the organization were taken care of. And at the time, the best way to do that was to partner with an AMC to not only use some of their functional departments, but really for any benefits. You know, when you're a small staff and you're seeking benefits, health insurance, dental vision, you don't really get the best of rates. But partnering with the larger AMC afforded us the opportunity to provide the benefits similarly to what we were receiving at the ACR.
So when you talk about how you're small associations, you already had dedicated staff within the ACR. So you basically plucked those staff and decided to become independent. How small are you? Like, talk to me about scale.
The Society of Breast Imaging has 7 full-time staff members. We were able to take advantage of, as Angela had shared, the benefits and compensation package of this small AMC while we were still in our transition from ACR to standalone status. And it also gave us more flexibility because, as you can imagine, 18 months is not really a long time to give a society the opportunity to really do a deep dive into what is best for their organization. And we made some decisions that made sense at the time, but then we continue to reevaluate those decisions to where we are now, where we have strong partnerships and with outsourced support like accounting, IT, meetings and logistics. I mean, these are important critical components because we recognized what needed to stay in-house and what needed to be outsourced in order for the SBI staff to be the most efficient and effective.
And you know, Joanna, I would also like to mention that one of the interesting things in stepping into this model where we decided to partner with an AMC, at the time SPR had 3 FTEs, now we have 4, but was finding an association management company that would actually be willing to bring your staff along at the same status. And when I say status, meaning their titles, their pay, because now you're kind of having to figure out, well, do you fit within that AMC's overall organizational model? And is the pay what you're giving maybe your director of meetings and education the same as what they would give theirs? So that actually was one of those things where we had to really interview, I would say, quite a few different AMCs because there were some that did not want to bring on more than one person. They may say we could take on the executive director, but I think we ran across 1 or 2 that's like, but if you want to bring on the rest of the staff, even that CEO of the AMC wanted to interview the staff. And we're kind of like, it's not really up for discussion. It's a whole package. And I think a lot of that is a testament to the leadership having value in the staff and wanting to make sure that the staff stayed intact throughout the transition.
So you partner with an AMC to help you with the transition, but today SPR and SBI are fully self-managed associations. So how do you do that in 18 months? Set up a new membership database, set up accounting? I mean, like, what's that process like?
It's a timeline, of course. You have to have your timeline, but you also have to be flexible where time permits, because I think, as Yasmeen mentioned before, you may not always get it right the first time, but you have to trust that you're going to make the best decision with the information that you have. And then you still always need to evaluate. So for me, I know it's like, don't overcommit. So for instance, now in the standalone model, we use a PEO company. But that contract is for 1 year because, again, I don't want to overcommit. This is still fairly new for the organization. So let's do this year. It's definitely going to serve the purpose that we need, but maybe we'll need to make a change in that 1 year. Maybe we won't. And really use your resources. I think that was big. We really used our resources. And because both our organizations were going through this at the same time, we were able to use each other and actually coordinate some things together, making it a more palatable path.
Ah, okay. So tell me about the sisterhood between the two of you.
Well, it's like Angela said, you lean on your resources, and I cannot even call this process fun, but had it not been for Angela, I don't even know how I would have survived it. I mean, being able to go and share the ups and downs, the questions, the doubts that you might have. I mean, they say it all the time. It's lonely at the top, but it's not if you've got a solid network. And that's what we were able to build and strengthen to the point now that even after this whole transition, we have a standing time every week, every Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, where she and I meet, whether it's to decompress, to unload, to share, to bounce ideas off. I mean, we've continued that collaboration together. It definitely fills the soul to be able to have somebody that I can lean on and count on when the times are tough or times are down, or when there's something exciting to share.
Man, that is so lovely. I have something to share with you both, and that is there was a study, it was actually reported in the New York Times, that researchers had people stand at the bottom of a hill and look at the incline or the angle of the hill when they were standing by themselves with a stranger, with a friend, and with their best friend. And guess what? When they were with their best friend, they somehow gauged the hill to be least steep. Same hill, different person. Somehow the journey is different. And that's what you have with the two of you.
Yes.
Okay, so what's it like being standalone? What's the biggest advantage?
For SBI, the biggest advantage has been the freedom to make the decisions that directly affect how we operate and how we serve our members. We can be more nimble, more intentional, and more responsive to what SBI needs. It's also allowed us to build and strengthen our own relationships with other societies through joint statements, guidelines, and publications. And those collaborations are really important because they have helped expand SBI's voice and impact while allowing us to show up as an independent partner at the table.
How about you, Angela? What have been the biggest advantages?
I would say really similarly to SBI, SPR enjoys that autonomy. We now have complete control over our operations, our investments. I mean, even something as simple as selecting, I think as you alluded to earlier, Joanna, the database that we're going to be in. Something as simple as that, we're able to really focus solely on our members and our mission, and we don't have to balance like any competing organizational priorities of that larger organization when you're under their umbrella. So definitely the autonomy.
Are there things that you miss that maybe you had when you were under the ACR?
Yes, absolutely. Because they were so large, I believe they have 500 employees. There were so many events that took place in the office, and this is pre-COVID, because at the time, my staff and I did go into the Reston office at the ACR, and being able to have the luncheons, we would have international luncheon potlucks, employee appreciation days, all of those things that made it so fun to be at work and to have a number of people that you could always see and be engaged with. And so when COVID hit, of course, we all went into our remote status, and that's nice too, but I do miss the people.
And I would say too, that missing the people is one of those things. And I think because of that, Yasmeen and I saw a need. So for instance, as she mentioned, we have a standing meeting where we connect. But over the last couple of years, we've also been intentional to provide that type of opportunity for our staffs. Because under ACR, there were like 15, 20 plus people in our department. And so that was even a larger resource of where you could share ideas and knowledge. And what are you doing at your meeting? What are you doing for these abstracts? How are you dealing with your mentoring program? So what we have now done is we bring our staffs together virtually twice a year, usually in the summer, so that we have already gone through our annual meetings and we can share and give information on what happened, what we might want to do the year next, and then at the end of the year. So we at least try to get our teams together virtually so that they keep that connection of other people in the industry and then also within the world of radiology.
Oh my God, I love this so much. So SPR and SBI, you bring your staff together virtually for a day, half a day, structured, unstructured. What do you do? This sounds amazing.
We call it a learn at lunch. We actually send them little gift cards and they can get whatever lunch they want. And we usually schedule it though for 90 minutes to 2 hours. So it's not just an hour. And we do ask for them to send any topics in advance. So we kind of know what's coming up and it's no awkward pauses, but it's really an open agenda. And sometimes just having that open agenda, things just happen organically. Someone asks a question and then it spurs another question. And we've gotten really great feedback from our teams. So it's not something that they feel forced to do. I believe it's something they look forward to doing.
I love this because you're learning from each other. You're also telling your staff that it is okay and encouraged to learn from people from another organization so that they're less insular in what they're doing. You're encouraging it, and they see the friendship between the two of you.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Well, speaking of bringing staff together, I met you at the Inter-Society Conference of the ACR, which brings together the executive directors and the board members and the board chairs of these different societies. Why do you all come together in that manner, and why is it important?
I think it's always important that radiology as a whole specialty continue to collaborate with the smaller specialty societies. It's also important because the members of the ACR are also members of multiple other radiology organizations and specialties. So we are not insular in the way that our members are just SBIs. They are also members of the American College of Radiology, the RSNA, et cetera. So there's a lot of overlap. And I think it's a good opportunity for other leaders to learn what leaders of different associations and societies are doing as well.
Angela, what's that like to attend a conference with a board member and for them to meet other ED CEOs and board members? Interesting dynamic.
I think it's interesting in that you're getting this one-on-one time with this board member that you don't always get, especially because it's in person over a series of about 2 days. In the evenings, maybe you're even having dinner together. So it's actually helping you cultivate that relationship even outside of your regular board meetings, your annual meetings. So it just set a different kind of framework for getting to know that board member. And I think it's good for them because then they also have this picture of what the organization is doing independently, but look how it fits into the greater world of radiology and how we're doing similar things to other organizations, or we can learn from other organizations, or perhaps they've learned from us. So them being able to see that also can impact the discussions now that you're having with them. And they just really see things differently because, their day-to-day is taking care of children, reading those images, not that association management aspect of it. And this meeting is more of the business of radiology, not really the clinical side of radiology.
Interesting. But you also have something that you call CEDARS, which is the Coalition of Executive Directors in Radiology. And you all get together once a year. And I think there's like 60 of you. So that sounds really interesting. So it's like your own little society of association executives, but for people who run radiology associations. Why is that important? And why do you get together?
Yes, that has actually been one of the best informal organizations that I can say that I have been a part of. It was created by Renee Cruey, who is the executive director of the Academy, and she saw the need where the executives at the ISC meeting did not really have that time because, as Angela had shared, many are working closely with their board member, getting to know them, spending that much needed one-on-one time that we don't always get. And so she saw that there was a need for an opportunity for the executives to get together and to discuss operations. And because we share radiology as our common bond, it made for such a wonderful learning experience, especially for me when I first joined as a new executive. I learned so much from the people at the table. And also, like the relationship that I have with Angela, now I've got 10 more people to bounce ideas off of or to get some input on and to help me through, work things out. They've been there. Some of these executives have been in their role for 20 plus years. So they've been there, done that. And they've got a lot of insight that they're willing to share.
Man, do I love that. It just seems like such a tight group. And I love that you call yourselves the House of Radiology, that somehow you're together. You've got your own different identities, but there's this overarching house that really brings you together. Okay, before we go, you have to promise me that you'll come back onto the podcast to talk about your personal journeys and the things your organizations are doing. But before we go, I want to hear from each of you. What are you looking forward to for the rest of 2026?
I would say I am looking forward to seeing how our society, meaning SPR society, actually continues to execute its strategic plan. And the reason I'm looking forward to it is because we're on a 3-year plan that was just adopted last August. And this is the first plan that the association has had undergoing a facilitated process. And for an organization that's almost 70 years old, while there have been strategic planning meetings, they never had one that was facilitated. And this was the first one. And we're just seeing how this really can not only influence the organization, but the field of pediatric imaging. And we've just got some great tactics that are coming out of it. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm excited to see SBI's continued growth through our educational programs and the impact those programs have on breast imaging professionals and ultimately patient care. I'm also really looking forward to the continued professional development of my team. We've invested a lot in building a strong and talented staff, and it's rewarding to see those individuals take on new challenges, expand their skills, grow into their leadership opportunities. So watching both the organization and the people behind it evolve is what is most fulfilling to me.
Ladies, this has been a terrific interview. Thank you for sharing the story of how you all became independent. You have to promise me that you'll come back.
Will do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Associations Thrive. We're so glad to have you here. You know, my personal mission and the mission of my company, Matrix Group International, is to help associations and nonprofits increase membership, generate revenue, and thrive in the digital space. I want to hear stories of how your organization is thriving in today's challenging landscape. Please apply to be on my show by going to podcast.matrixgroup.net. By the way, do you need help with a digital initiative? Maybe it's a website redesign, a new membership database, or a hybrid meeting that you're planning. I'd love to connect with you. Please visit the Matrix Group website at matrixgroup.net. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Associations Thrive. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a 5-star rating, post a comment, and share it with your colleagues and friends.